Every week, has it been a long week? How's it been?
No, it was an angry end of the game, I suppose, because we're all a bit angry after a defeat, as if it means something to you. You're not going to be happy, that's for sure. And I was a bit angry with a few of the decisions that went against us. Don't want to blame the refs every time we lose, because obviously we have a part to play in that loss. But it could have been different if a few things like Mulder's goal, the officials really, because that's the linesman with the offside situation. But so no, I was angry, after the game. But once we get into our review room in here and we talk about it, and I've had a look at the 90 minutes of the DVD, you know that it was one of them occasions where we didn't really create enough opportunities, that's for sure. But and we got beat in the 94th minute, which is always disappointing. So angry for a little while, and then you've got to get over it, because then you've got to start preparing for the next game.
And because you've got a full week between games, can you work on the sharpness that you talked about after the game, which was missing at the weekend?
When you lose, the sharpness always looks like it's not there. There were certain parts of our play was pretty good, but that all goes into oblivion if the opposition score late on and you get beat. But we've been working on a lot of things, and we're only 13 sort of games into a new group's season, and to be honest with you, we've done pretty well considering it was a new group. So they're learning things all the time, and sometimes you learn a lot from adversity. When you have lost a game, and the last loss we had, at Altrincham, we learned from it, and we went on a decent run. So hopefully we can do the same again.
And the resilient characters, or if they needed sort of picking up and sort of cajoling along a little bit this week?
Not really. No, they go with my mood. If I'm in a bad mood, then they can't really turn up and be Billy Buttling, can they? Because I'll be jumping on them. And if I'm in a decent mood, then they can be in a decent mood. So the moods go with how we feel, really, and what the session entails. Sometimes I've got to have a kick, battle and bite session, and sometimes you've got to have a technical, clear your mind, be happy type session. And we've had enough sort of time to do that, with it being Saturday to Saturday. Is it Saturday to Saturday? Yeah. And that's what we've done. So it's just gauging it, really. And these lads are as disappointed as I when we get beat, and they're exactly as I am when we win. But you've got to be professional every day, and once that last game's over with, you really have got to concentrate on the next one.
Harry Pell chomping at the bit to get back in, having missed out at the weekend due to his suspension?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I think there's a few lads that would like to get in the team. They know they're in the squad. I managed to give 2 or 3 players another first team start to keep them in the loop, and they get that feeling of playing in the first team, and me showing them that they're a part of it. Obviously the young kid on the bench, because he'd done well in training, and it was good to put him in the public eye of how well he's doing, and to boost his confidence a little bit. It would have been nice to have been 2 or 3 up and gave him his league debut at 16 years of age. So that would have been good for him, but unfortunately it didn't quite work out like that.
But do you feel now you're getting closer to a situation where you've got a squad of players you can pick from, rather than at the start of the season where you were working with a bare 11 and a bench, if you like, because of the way pre-season had been? Yeah,
we've got a good squad. I mean, I think we've got the best goal difference figure in the league, which is good. It's worth a point to you sometimes. I know it's only 1 on a couple of them, but. And we've been scoring goals. I think on a day when you don't score a goal at home, everybody thinks you need this, you need that, and of course that's human nature, and that's what people talk about. But I think we have got a good squad, and I think I have got players that if someone's not quite performing, I've got someone that is looking forward to taking someone else's place. But they have got that squad personality, that squad camaraderie, which is really, really important. Yes, compete for the place with your mate, but you still got to be your mate, and you still got to hope that he does well, and hope that he thinks he wants you to do well when you get in, and that's how you get that competition. But it's they all feel involved, and that's what I've got to try and achieve.
Halifax this weekend, how different a challenge will they be from the Forest Greens, the Tranmeres of this world, the Wokings as well? You've had that run of games against teams who are right up there with you.
Yeah, well, we've got to be careful because we went to Altrincham, with the same thoughts, really. A team that was part-time. I don't know if Halifax are part-time or not. Are they part-time? So we got to make sure that we treat them as if they're top of the league, because they're not going to want to be relegated. They don't want to be down in the relegation places. So they're going to try and do all they can to get out of that. So we've got to make sure that we respect them again. I know I say that all the time, but that's what we do. We have a good look at their previous games, their teams, their shape, their mentality, the pluses, the minuses that they've got, the strengths and weaknesses, and we'll do that, and we have done that, and we'll work to it. So we won't take them lightly, that's for sure. But it's a long way to go to come back with nothing.
And they do look like they've got a bit of a home sort of fortress mentality there. I think unbeaten in their last 5 at home as well. So you can see what they're trying to build to get their way out of it. Yeah,
and we understand that. But it's a game we've got to win. It's a game they've got to win, and they're good games. You look forward to going up and competing against a team that you haven't played yet this season, just to see how good or how bad they are.
Injuries? Any problems there?
No, I think we're okay. We did have a kick, battle and bite session just to get the cobwebs away from the defeat, and just give them something to compete for and compete against. So we had a couple of little knocks, nothing over aggressive, but it was certainly competitive, and there was a couple took little knocks out of that, which you would imagine that would happen. So, but I think they'll all be okay come Saturday.
Thank you. Good luck.
No problem.
Gary, do you have to look at sort of the fact that they've got no manager, Halifax, and be wary of what they might be doing, the players, to impress people in the stands?
Well, yeah, there's bound to be people in the stands if they haven't already got somebody by the weekend. But also you've got to be careful of a team that hasn't got a manager, because they're not under pressure to impress anyone for the next game necessarily. I know their manager might be in the stand the next one, but I've come up against teams that haven't had a manager and they play with a little bit of freedom and can cause you a problem. So there's positives and negatives both ways. But listen, we know that we got to go there. We got to get a result. People are going to be expecting us to get a result. They know that people are going to be expecting us to get a result. We're going to be the bookies' favourites to win the game, if you like. So they'll probably see that the pressure's on us to go and win the game at, as you say, a place where they're at home where they're doing okay.
How do you sort of gauge the players' reaction to that pressure? Because it's probably something that they're having to get used to, being favourites in games.
Well, you just have to get on with it. I think we've coped admirably so far. We've only lost the 2, haven't we, by the odd goal in 13 games. We had a good run of 6 wins on the trot, and we have been scoring goals. Our strikers have been scoring goals. We've certainly been creating opportunities, and even Saturday we should have had 2 genuinely good goals and a couple of other decisions where there was another offside decision that wasn't offside, and we had 3v1 in that situation. So we feel that we're creating the opportunities. Parles missed a pretty decent header, so that was down to us. Where he just needed to nod it down, and it was a goal. So we just got to keep going and keep our feet on the ground. Don't get into the hype of we're going to win the league. We just got to focus on that. We've got to win the league. That's what we've got to focus on. There's a slight difference there between the two.
You've got 4 games again coming up, Saturday, Tuesday again. You mentioned the strength of the squad. Do you actually start planning ahead which team you might play in each game, or is it a game by game?
No, it is a game by game. I know that's easy to say that. I think you keep one eye on the numbers in your squad in case people get injured, or like Harry Pell got suspended for last week. So we have to keep an eye on that. But also we're going to have the FA Trophy games coming around at some stage. You're going to have the FA Cup games coming around at some stage. So everybody's going to be getting their fair share of games, that's for sure.
Just on the FA Cup, you allowed 3 or 4 of the squad players to get cup tied in the recent games. Is that just a case of we've got enough here for the cup, and it's best served them getting their experience still?
It's a little bit that, but I think the main thing about that is when a team wants to loan one of your players and they're paying, for instance, their full money. It's not really fair to say, well, they can't play in the Cup because, you know, they're in the Cup. Now, with all due respect, we're not going to win the FA Cup. It'd be nice, but we won't. I don't know what the odds are on that. So what happens is if that lad then doesn't play in the FA Cup because you don't allow him to, but he's still there, and then they win the game, all of a sudden he might be left out of the team for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So we've looked at it and we feel at this moment in time we got enough for the early rounds of the Cup, and if we end up getting into third rounds proper, of course then at that time you're going to have to look at that January window to make sure you bring in enough players to cope.
And you're still happy with the progress that those lads are making out with their clubs?
I am, because you know, in hindsight we didn't know whether we were going to win so many games on the trot when we had those 6 games. But imagine all those lads were still at the club, they wouldn't have been playing now. They might have been on the bench, they might have had the odd game. But at the moment, they're all, you know, Bobby and Harry are creating a name for themselves, scoring goals. You know, as I said, there's a couple that are not in our plans anyway, and they're still out there. But the ones that are in our plans are getting games. And that's so important because they need to, when they train with us, which they do, they need to have the same feeling as the other lads on a Monday morning, whether they've won or lost. So it all works out in the end, and we do it for the right reasons.
Excellent.